Hey everybody, this is Barney Davis, and this is my first YouTube tutorial, and several people have asked me, both on Flickr and Facebook and whatever, about how I do my HDRs, and so I'm going to try and take you through in just 2 or 3 minutes here and show the basic process and what I do in Photomatix, and then in the next tutorial we'll spend a little more time on what I do in Photoshop, because that's really where the key is, and I'll be a little more specific in a minute, but I think a lot of people try and mess up in the way that they try to do too many adjustments in Photomatix, when really Photoshop is where you want to do your adjustments, and Photomatix is good for just creating the HDR. Alright, you'll notice I have Bridge open, and we have several pictures here, and I'm not going to elaborate too much on it, but this is the file that we'll get out of Photomatix. And this is the file that we're going to get out of Photoshop, or at least something like it, since I'm doing it from memory, but we'll see. And what we're going to start out with is our raw files. It's possible to take one single capture with a raw file and make it into a pseudo HDR. I don't recommend doing it. It's you're not going to get the same quality, so try to avoid doing that if at all possible. But this is just Bridge. It comes with Photoshop. If you don't know how to browse around Bridge, you're kind of missing out. Okay, and we're going to use 3 raw files for this tutorial. But just for simplicity's sake, I'm doing it in Bridge. I've highlighted the 3 so we can see the file names, and we'll just quickly flip over to Photomatix, which I already have open. We're going to hit Generate HDR Image, Browse, and navigate to that folder that you're working with. And you need to highlight all 3 folders here. Hopefully you it's one easy way to do it is just click on the first one, hit shift, and then hit the down arrow key until you've highlighted all the ones you need. But hit open, hit OK. Alright, it's going to ask you several questions. Don't get too hung up on this, but you just need to keep in mind what you're doing. And I always check reduce chromatic aberrations and reduce noise. It doesn't make a huge difference, but any little bit helps. And you always want to align your source images, even if you're doing it on a tripod. A little bit of wind can set it off, and you'll really notice it if you don't tell it to align the source images. It takes a little bit longer, not a lot longer, and to me it's just worth it to not have a chance of something sticking out 3 times in different directions. Alright, under Attempt to Reduce Ghosting Artifacts, I don't always leave this checked. This is something that you just kind of have to use your judgment on, and it kind of depends on what you're doing. In this case, we do have water going through the background, and so I'll leave it checked and set to background movements. If you have a lot of things moving, like big trees or whatever, you may want to set it to moving objects and people. I found that it's surprisingly good at eliminating some moving objects, while others it completely misses. So, like I said before, any little bit helps. Just, shoot for the best and hope for the best. But down here under white balance, I just leave it as shot. If you're using auto white balance, as I often forget to change it from, and I usually end up using auto white balance, it may come out a little bit one way or the other. Don't worry about it too much. We'll fix it in Photoshop. It's a whole lot easier to do it there than it is here, unless it's just something really crazy. And if you think it may come out really, really strange, you can set it to auto, and that will actually adjust it in Photomatix before it blends them. Don't get too hung up on it. And the color primary is HDR image. Once again, doesn't matter, but I like ProPhoto. It's a good color space. So I'm going to hit OK now that I've got all of this. And now we're going to wait.